Hello and welcome to the Silent Evil Podcast. I'm Special Scott Holmes.
And I am Cameron.
We're coming back to you with another game from the 90s, this time 1996. Point and click adventure horror with the game Harvester.
Yes, sir.
Point and click games are those things that I've always thought were super cool. And I've messed around with so many point and click games over the years. But I felt like I've never sat down and really got like super deep into one. Like one of the few that I remember putting a lot of time into back in the day was Leisure Shoot Larry.
Yeah, yep.
Out of all ones. But I remember that game just like, I was just like, boy, you can almost type in anything into here. And if there's a program response, it like blew my mind. This game's programmed in like 89 and it has so much stuff that you could type in, and there was the Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis. That one I remember always being a really cool one from back in the day. And of course, there's a copious amount of other ones that I've always fancied, but just never sat down and gave that proper time to. And that's where like Harvester was kind of in that list where I was like, this game looks really cool. I always want to sit down and play a point and click one. And, finally just go through the distance. And in a sense, now I can finally say, yes, I've totally went the distance on a point and click game.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, for me, like, I mean, because I used to play point and click adventure games, mostly, like, notably, like, Sierra products, like King's Quest, for example. Played the living daylights out of those as a kid.
Roberta Williams pretty much invented the genre.
Yep. So really enjoyed those. And like my son's played like semi recently, like games like Freddy Fish and whatnot, like those are, point and click adventure games and whatnot, so when you told me about this game, I had never heard of it before, and then like you tell me about this game and you're like, oh, it's in the horror genre, and I'm like, a horror point and click. I'm like, okay, like I guess it makes sense, like I just never really thought about those mixtures before. But this works really well. I can't get this game. This game is awesome.
Well, and realistically, this game, I do think Resident Evil came out earlier in the year, but it came out the same year as Resident Evil 1. So, and the fact that it does actually have a lot of those, like, survival horror elements that you would think of even to this day and age, and it's kind of that early era. But I think point and click was a big genre section for the horror games for a while, because Clock Tower fits into that, Phantasmagoria does, there's even like stuff like Myst, even though it's not intended to be necessarily like that, there could be still some eerie moments in it when you're kind of clicking around and adventuring through places.
No, exactly. What else is there really to say? This is point and clicks or point and clicks, man.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's like they're those genres that you definitely got to kind of be in the mood for. Like, if you really are sitting down and you're like, man, I really want to play a game. It's like sometimes those point and click ones can be like, well, you're going to be clicking on stuff and listening to people talk and trying to figure out some puzzles here or what to do with these items. But you're not going to be running around and jumping and doing all kinds of other stuff.
Yeah, no, this is definitely not the like pick up and play for 10 minutes type game, like, because I tried that initially, when you first bought this for me, I installed it, gave it a go for about 20 minutes or whatever, and was like, oh, just to see what it is, I was like, oh, that's interesting, but like really didn't figure out anything about it until we got going on this run, but yeah, no, it's definitely not the type of genre you're just going to pick up and play, like you need to put some like sincere time into it, and especially like with the just remembering everything that's going on. Once I got a roll on this, like, I mean, it took me two days to complete it, like once I had started to get a roll on it. But I think if you were to like chunk it out any further than that, like you just start forgetting things, and like, pathing and whatnot. This game doesn't have the Silent Hill F style journal, like they really explain shit. So,
no, I mean, like literally you start on off and your character Steve wakes up and he's got amnesia, and that's what you're gonna have if you don't get back to this game soon enough. Because it's one of those ones like, the stuff is just not necessarily explained. It's just like you're gonna hopefully stumble into it, and I mean, right off the bat, you're just there. You wake up. It's like a 50s style kind of setting, like almost like if you were in like a bizarre TV show, and your character wakes up in this. He has this family. There's like, the first thing you see is there's like your brother out there, and your brother's just this like ass of a kid just sitting there cross-legged, cowboy hat on. He's watching this cowboy and Indian show that's extraordinarily violent, because if you click on the TV and watch what it does, the cowboy guy shoots the Indian and his guts just go boom and explode all out.
Splayed out, dude.
And then like, of course, your brother just has like so much attitude too. Like he's just like,
oh, I love it.
He's talking mad shit to you and so on, and you're just like, I don't know where I am. Who am I? You're my brother.
Right,
like,
right. You have like three dialogue choices, and it's like, who am I, where am I, or who are you? Or like the three things or whatever. And your brother is just like so annoyed, that you're like asking him anything, and like the whole like, 'cause I love how human this is too, because you go up to your brother, you start asking him questions or whatnot. You're like, what are you doing here? And he's like, oh, well, dad's home sick from, like he's in bed sick or whatever. So I decided to stay home sick too. And then you like hit him with the question of just like, well, why are you not in bed or whatever? And he's like, shut up. like, don't tell mom, shut up. I just want to watch my show. It's just so human,
And I'll say one thing we got to mention just right off the bat is what makes this game kind of stand out, makes it kind of gives it that real feel, is the fact that like all like the kind of graphics are all video footage and full FMVs and all this kind of stuff. At that time period where like they were kind of intermixing both that together. I guess you would say like all of Mortal Kombat, but then you added a lot more to it. So it's like that's how the graphics were designed. Because that was that time period where it's just like, wait a second, I know how we can advance graphics. Video camera.
Right.
We'll just do frame by frame from that, and we'll collect all that stuff. But so you get this realistic looking, especially for like 96, because these are the kind of games that you would have played back in the day. You'd be like, dude, it looks like real life.
Oh yeah,
that's would have been how if I looked at this as a kid, I would have been like, it looks realistic.
Yeah. Well, even in some of the post-game research that I was doing on this, and like listening to people of that era going like, yeah, FMV is the future of games, everything's going to be full motion video and blah, 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 and this, that, and the other, and to see the way that it, obviously went, it's pretty interesting. But
well, when I was a kid, when I first played Sega CD and saw a lot of those FMV games on there and stuff like that, like I literally, you could not tell me the difference between what that was and like a movie. It looked identical. It was one of those weird ones like that, which now you go back and you look at that Sega CD at like 240p and all that kind of stuff, and it's just compressed onto a CD. But at the time period, it's like it looked full on like realistic, like you were like actually there and stuff. Because I think once you jump from a Genesis or a Super Nintendo or an NES, that looks extremely different.
Right. Yep. Yeah. See, and even for me, like I'm trying to think of games that I was playing like on the PS1. There was. Had kind of like the similar, I mean, like Mortal Kombat aside, I guess, because Mortal Kombat existed, but trying to think of like other games that like had something like that. And even if there was any point and click adventure games on PS1, I'm sure there are, like Myst, like, because I have Myst.
Yeah, and the Clock Tower games are on there.
Clock Tower.
Yeah. Well, the only thing is, it's like the only downfall is like, if you get a point and click game on a console, I think it kind of dilutes the experience, because like the main thing you need is a mouse, and now you're using a controller. Not saying you can't get by with it, but like,
no, it's just
it's just clunky, because it's just it's like playing RTS games, with a controller. Like, yeah, it can do it, and I have put a lot of hours in back in the day on controller based ones like that. But a mouse, just like, that's 100% what it needs. It's not like a first person shooter where it's like, yeah, the mouse is better for aiming, but the controller really has just as many merits as well too. Like, when it comes to like a straight mouse game, it's like, no, you kind of want that mouse,
Right. Yep. No, absolutely.
But yeah. But most of the time it was the PC was where you mostly found all these kind of games and so on like that.
Yeah.
Because even I was trying to flip through some old magazines to see if I could find any of them talking about Harvester and so on like that. And I was looking through Game Pros and so on. And I just kind of searched around the months of like when it was released. And I know that Game Pro only, like the PC section's mostly only like about 2 or 3 pages in each issue anyways back then. But I couldn't seem to find anything on it. And I was like, I always kind of wonder if like, is this game like in that like too violent for probably putting it, which I can't see why not. They have Quake and Doom and Mortal Kombat and everything, Turok and Resident Evil. I mean, I will say that Harvester, I think, is one of those games that when you look at its violence scale in it, it is literally, it makes modern games in like the last 25 years, unless maybe it's like a super indie something or another, seem extremely tame.
Right. Yep. Yeah, no, absolutely.
Because this is that ballsy, and I mean, even on the box art, it doesn't even have, well, it has like the 18 rating, but like it's PC rating, so it doesn't have like an ESRB or any of that kind of stuff.
Right. Well, and from what I understand, is like this game was developed as basically a big middle finger to the ESRB, just for like, and like that video game craze of the early 90s. Of violence in video games, and it's such a self-aware piece too, like as you're moving through this game, and like because like obviously a lot of the characters are like either individual people within the world that we exist in or whatever, or just like the ideas of people in reality, or whatever. Like a lot of them have that portrayal, and I loved how the game was able to kind of like flow through all of those and whatnot. So you see like the mega Christians, you see like, or like the like mega religion type stuff, you see like hypersexualization of things, you see like just all the different things that this game presents in its characters, and then its like narrative is just like, it's so funny. But
well, it pretty much takes like every like rating issue that you would kind of have and so on like that, and just like exploits each one of them like in each direction and so on like that, and just from all the crazy people in there to all like the ridiculous stuff you're gonna find. And then when there is gore, like the gore is extremely good.
Oh yeah.
Just the graphics of stuff. But yeah, when you start on this game off, though, you're just kind of going around. Your character has amnesia, and you really have no idea. And you're just talking to people in your house. I mean, you go to talk to your mom who's in the kitchen, and she's like super 50s mom, where she's just in there. She's baking cookies continuously for some bake sale. You don't know what this bake sale is yet, but she's going on about that, and people are telling you that you have a wedding coming up, and you should be grateful. It's be perfect. This is the greatest girl you could have, and you're like, what? I don't know any of this kind of stuff here.
Yep. No, it really is like just such Twilight Zone-esque, like the very first scene of you talking to your brother, and then you talk to your mom, like you were just saying, and like, yeah, like learning that you have this life going on that you just have no idea about, and you have no idea who these people are, where you are, what's going, anything like that. And it really just like opens up the door for exploration, which this game is phenomenal at, like just click on all the things, like examine all the stuff, click, finally learning how to put things in your freaking inventory after play, So the game has a very interesting tutorial system too. Mostly just because it's just like one tutorial box that just has like a close button, a next, or like more info or whatever. You just like kind of click through it, and then hopefully hopefully they wrote something in there that will like explain the problem that you're having, because like the whole double clicking on an item to like add to your inventory, I couldn't find in that tutorial. It might be in there somewhere because the thing just goes on infinitely. But
yeah, I had to figure that one out, because I was sitting there, I was like, dude, why can I not pick this thing up? That looks like something I could pick up, and it's like, and then I finally was like, I got angry and double clicked it, and it finally did it. It was like, oh, that's what I needed to do.
Yep.
I will just say, even about the amnesia thing, I think what makes that kind of a good thing for especially a video game, because sometimes this is a problem I have, and it happens in a lot of modern games now, is like, well, they'll drop you in the world, and then you're talking to all these characters, and these characters are talking back to you like you've had this long 20-year relationship, and you're like, yo, I have no idea who this guy is.
Right.
By giving your character the amnesia thing, it feels just like the player. Like, I just turned this game on. I don't know who any of these people are. Yep. You know what I mean? So it makes it feel fresh, where instead it's like, dude, you don't remember like when we hung out 15 years ago? It's like, no, why do I have any care about you?
Yep. Yeah, and I love like some of the subtle like hinting that you get right off the rip too, like talking to mom, because like she's explaining about, like, you hear about the lodge, you hear about like just little sprinkles of things that you're about to go do, out in the world and whatnot. I thought was super tasteful too. And even like the cookies thing, like you mentioned, like she's sitting there like baking cookies, and she's like, obviously there's something with the freaking cookies, because she tells you like, oh, there's cookies on the counter, but there's plenty more in the trash, and blah blah blah, and like just weird lines like that, that just like It just makes you laugh, you know.
Yeah, exactly. She just keeps going, and then of course, like you have this like baby sister that's over. Like you could see it like in like the pre-rendered graphics. She's in like the far kind of like down left section, and you know she's just kind of there, just hanging out with mom and whatnot like that. And as time goes on, weirder stuff will happen with that character, you know. But you're just kind of like, okay, this is kind of a strange one. And then mom leaves off with the thing like, "Don't forget to give Jimmy his newspaper," and you're like, oh, okay. It wasn't. You're not quite. You're like, sure, newspaper, sure, whatnot, you know. And of course, the very first time, I just walk right out the door. I didn't realize there was a newspaper I need to grab inside. And you get outside, and there's this little kid Jimmy stand there, like, "Yo, you got the newspaper for me, man?" And stuff. And you're like, "What newspaper?" And he's like, "Dude, you're supposed to bring the newspaper out every day. You know, don't
every day."
Yeah, and this kid gets like, he's like, if you don't bring this out, like, shit's gonna get real here. Like, I'm gonna get, you know, it's like he's giving you threats, this like 8-year-old boy. And whatnot. And what I love is because on the controls, so you got point and click, and you can walk around, you can interact with objects, but then your right mouse button makes you throw punches and so on like that. And very later on in the game, you can have weapons and so on like that. But at this point, you can just punch. So I literally punched that Jimmy kid because I was like, I just kind of figured out the controls, and I punched him, and that kid pulls out a pistol and just starts firing at me.
So to explain to the audience, just real brief. So I had no knowledge of this at all. You know, Spence starts the game with just a hair before I do. And I get this text from him, and he's like telling me about, you know, just like, hey, you know, just like do this and this. And then he just puts in his text. He goes, "And do me a favor, slap the shit out of that Jimmy kid when you run across him," with no context, you know, like at all. No, it's like, okay. So if I start to play, you know, talk to my brother, talk to mom, I go outside, fucking, there's little Jimmy standing there with his little sack. Like, yeah, exactly. You know, talking to him, he's talking shit to you about like, "Oh, Steve, you always forget to bring out the paper every day," and blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, fuck you, kid, you know? So I punch him, and then he pulls out that pistol. The funny thing is that like I was standing directly on his frame when that happened. So when I punched him, he was still on top of my frame. So he's standing there just shooting, and it's that picture I sent you. He's on top of me like that. He's shooting, but he's not hitting me. He's just bam, 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 and Steve's just standing there, just staring at him. You know,
what?
Like, you know. And then I finally move, and then I get killed and whatnot. You know, like, but just how funny, dude. Just like so random, and there's so much stuff in this game like that. It's just. Oh, 11 out of 10, dude. It's so good.
Yeah, that's the thing is like the characters and the weirdness of it. There's just so much great stuff. And they just, right when it starts off, and it's just, you can already tell this world's a bizarre world because for some reason the newspaper boy doesn't deliver the newspaper. He collects newspapers. And for some reason you have a stack of like 50 newspapers in your house. Like no real ever explanation on how that works or what the process of that is.
Yeah. Yeah, and then he's and like all he wants is like, you know, and again like the breadcrumb trail type stuff that exists in this game, because like and then he tells you it's just like, "Oh, you know, like my soles and my shoes are starting to wear out. Do you have a spare pair of shoes or whatever?" And it's like, well, no, you don't. In your inventory at that particular time, you haven't picked that up yet. So it's like it just puts it into your head as the player that like, okay, now I'm gonna be looking for shoes, you know, because I got to give them to Jimmy eventually. So, but.
Yeah, I know, and he sort of sets you off these, you know, quests, and he's like, "Well, I'll give you if you bring me shoes, I'll give you this key, you know, to the school and whatnot like that." So, you know, you start getting that, and from this point, you're allowed to go out into like the town, and you get this top-down kind of view, and you could click on all the different places, and just as you're flipping around, it's like, okay, you know, house. Oh, there's the barber shop. Oh, there's the general store. There's a restaurant, fire department, yada yada yada, and then it's all of a sudden it's like, there's a nuclear silo base, you know, just sitting there in the meat plant, you know, and then in the very dead center of all this is the big old temple thing, the lodge.
Yeah, so so day one, which this game is like broken down into days more or less or whatever. So like day one in the game, I really just took the time. I just went building the building, talked to everyone, exhausted all dialogue, explored as far as I could and whatnot. The problem was at this point is that I'm talking to NPCs and they're starting to tell me things that are along that breadcrumb trail, you know, type thing. But I can't like literally just couldn't figure out how to pick anything up. Like, you know, it's like I talked to, you know, like the sheriff or the sheriff's deputy or whatever. He wants the porno mag that exists in the general store, but the quarter that you need is in your drawer in your house. And it's like, okay, so I got to go to my house, open the drawer, pick up the quarter, not understanding that if I double click on it, it's going to go into my inventory. And then there's a whole other set of problems. By the time I get to the general store, I go, okay, I want that magazine. And then the game's like, you need to pay her first. And then you talk to the woman and she only has 2 dialogue options, none of which they pay. And you're like, like, what do I do? Text Spence, he's like, oh, go into your inventory, grab the quarter out of your inventory, drag it out of your inventory, drop it on her, click on her, say, here you go. And then you can get your magazine. And it's like, oh yeah, this game was created in 1996. It's like I gotta put myself in that mindset.
That part, I went back and forth on that so much. It was just like, dude, what the hell? Like, it was like one of those ones. Like, I just need to pay this lady, and I was, like, what? There's nothing else I can click on inside her general store. It's that thing where they tried to simplify it so much that it made it more complicated.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's that classic thing where, like, if you actually made it more complicated, it would be more simple.
Yeah.
But and once you kind of get that, because you have to literally click on Steve, that brings up that inventory, and I didn't realize that you could click on an item and you drag the mouse off the like. Why would I think that was going to do something?
Right.
And it makes sense once it does happen, because it's like I feel like what they wanted to do is they want to make sure everything could be done with like one hand. You could just pretty much, for the most part, just have your hand on the mouse, and click, 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 click. Kind of almost like a Diablo 1's kind of designed that way too, where it's like, there is shortcuts, but like if you didn't want to, you could just have one hand controlling every single thing in that game.
Right.
And once you figure that out there, it's like, oh, okay, so now I can take items out, and then you could click on things with them, which is kind of part of the design there. One thing I did always kind of wonder is, because, we're playing a game nowadays on like a bigger monitor, which back in the day, you probably would have, give or take, had like a 16-inch monitor to play this game on.
Oh, yeah. So
things would have probably almost been a little bit bigger and stood out more, because I always kind of wonder that, because some stuff it's like, boy, you're like clicking on this like micro dot to try to go, oh, that's where it is.
It's like literal pixel. Like some of the items in this game are like literal just a pixel. It's like,
yeah, you just swipe it, swipe, click, 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 click. Finally got it. And nothing flashes like, say, like Resident Evil or something like that, where it's like, oh, that, or even other point and click games. Like I remember, like, because once again, I'm gonna use Indiana Jones as the example. I want to say on Fate of Atlantis, like things will flash, so it's like, oh, okay, I know the click there, and so on. This game has none of that.
So there's one comment that I'll toss on. So did you ever play like Day of the Tentacle, like that point and click?
I know of that one, but I never played any of those ones before.
Okay. That general art style makes objects in the world a hell of a lot easier to pinpoint of like what's interactable and what isn't, as compared to this game. I appreciate what they tried to do in this game, because everything is like, a real photo of something, or whatever. It's just digitized and put into the video game. So like everything has that realism look to it or whatever, but you don't see like even like Resident Evil, for example, 3D rendered background with the little shiny object. It's like, that object, you're not gonna be able to go into that background, but you can touch that object. Whereas here it's like everything just meshes and blends together, and it makes it impossible to like really tell like what the fuck's what. A prime example is the burnt down newspaper station or whatever, and the shovel sitting in the fucking pile of ashes up top. I couldn't figure that out. I finally had to pull the guide, and it told me that, and I still had to find it. I was like, where?
Yeah, I did the same thing too. I pulled the guide out, and I was still confused. I'm like, dude, what do I click on here and stuff? Because the guide wasn't like super specific. It just said, you'll find the shovel there. Yeah. That was the only information it was giving me.
Yeah, exactly.
And that is the thing I will say, because this game has that very experimental feel, like, and it makes sense with Day of the Tentacles. Isn't that's the same guys as like Monkey Island and all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
So they're all using the cartoony artwork, which makes it all the LucasArts type stuff, I guess. Same thing as Indiana Jones. Yeah. So they kind of knew how to make it stand out nicely and so on. Where this one's doing the experiment thing, where we want to make the game try to look as realistic as possible and so on. But the only downfall is because of that, it makes things blend. Where if they would have just had just a little, once again, that shimmer from Resident Evil would have gone a long ways, and so on. And that's probably that one where you don't think anything of it until time has gone by, and you're like, oh, that would have been good to have,
Oh, yeah. Yep.
It's like the 180 turn in Resident Evil. How many games did it take to finally get to that? It took a couple of them, and then you kind of go, oh yeah, that 180 turn makes a big difference.
And how many new games are we still talking about? Like, god damn it, I wish I had that.
The 180 turn, yeah. I mean, gosh, there's even MetaQuest games that have the 180 turn, and that one, it's always a little bit jarring in that. You're like, whoa, jeez. expect to spin around that fast, but yeah, once you kind of get that down and figure out where things are, and I will say this is one of those kind of games where it doesn't hurt to kind of have the guide sort of by you. I did that thing where I would go, and if I got kind of stuck for about 10 minutes or so, I'd go, just at least let me know where I need to go next. Oh, okay, that's where I need to go next. Put the guide back down and then keep going again, because yeah, this is one of those just ones. Mainly it's just because some of the stuff, it's just hard to see. It's like, yeah, you went there, you thought you clicked on everything, but there's just little teeny objects and so on.
But it's either hard to see, and on top of that, a lot of the puzzles in this game, the quote unquote puzzles in this game, are so obscure. Like there's so many of them that I was just like, I was texting you at the time. I was like, put yourself in 1996 shoes playing this for the very first time without the internet. Like, I mean, and you called it out perfectly. You're just like, you got to think about that time era too. Like somebody would buy a game and that would be their game for like 6 months, and it's like, okay, I can see it at that point. But, but the guide really made this the difference between an 8-hour experience versus probably a 20-hour experience, for me anyways. So
yeah, no, I would say so too. And the other thing too is I picture this like back in the days. Let's just say you're able to, you're able to get Harvester as like a 10-year-old boy going to school. Yeah. Gonna have some real life experiences happen here. You'll probably jerk off Johnny at the end of the day if that's the case. But like so many games, it's like in the olden days, a lot of times what it was is if you and a couple other friends had the game, it's like everybody would go home, you'd play the game, and then you'd come back to school and then you would talk about it, and then someone would be telling you like, oh, well, you get this item over here, and if you do this, you can get through the door, and you go, oh shit, okay, and then when you go back home, you try that, and a lot of times there was that old-fashioned way of progression, where and I think nowadays too, because like these games, sometimes you play a game like this, you're like, well, let's see if we can blow through this in 6 hours. It's like the mindset, where it was supposed to be like, no, you're going to get your money's worth out of this because it's going to be long, because you're going to get kind of lost and stuff.
Oh yeah, yep. Well, even difficulty too, for that matter. It's like we were commenting, even last night talking about this, like. Like majority of this game is literally just point and click. You're going around, you point and click. Like the level of like where you can actually fail is like that bar is so fucking low in this game until you get to the very end, and then it's just like enemy. It's just like combat. It's like, what the fuck? Like, why? Okay.
It is weird because it's like, how many other video games have you played in life where there was no combat till like the last quarter of the game?
Right.
I almost can't think of a single other game that I've ever played where it's just like, and the first time this jumping ahead, like the first time like an enemy appeared in this game, it threw me off because it was like, you literally are jumping in like this tomb. Once again, 5 hours, no enemies, nothing. Like there's that punch thing that all I kind of thought was like, oh, it's just there if you want to dick with people. That was like the only thing I was thinking the punch button was kind of there for. And so I never technically used it at all, really. I was just like, well, I don't want to, I know what's going to happen. I'm going to get arrested or something, it's mostly just not, it's going to be there for funny. But other than that, I'm just going to have to restart my save file.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you jump down there and there's this like werewolf like little creature thing, like wolf thing crawling at you like, what the fuck? Start punching it. It's like, I just did not expect that. It was just never there. So boy, did that get me, right off there. But yeah, just going back to like that initial day, you just go around and you're meeting all these people, all these crazy people in town, because nobody seems to be normal. I mean, there's guys, you go to like the barber shop, and of course there's one guy who's talking about aliens and abductions and all this kind of stuff. Then there's a little guy right there too. And there's the Italian barber that doesn't speak English, who everybody's really racist against too.
Yeah, exactly.
And then he's got this like demon llama looking thing or goat, whatever, sitting there that you could click on it and doesn't do anything, but it's just there to be ominous.
Yeah, exactly. I love that character, dude. The Italian man, because like you're saying, it's just like everybody is like super racist to him, but everybody's just like, but he's cool because he cuts hair really well. Nobody else around here can do it. Like, okay, man. Oh, man. Or
it's like when you go to like the nuclear silo, which really actually has, you don't even have to go there. I don't think there's any purpose to that place other than just to have some wacky dialogue with a dude who's missing his legs, and he's still, and now he's given the job of being in charge of like 16 giant silos behind him, and he's got no legs on, and he's wearing the button to launch him on his waist.
Yep. Yep. And he's just on the lookout for them damn commies, and like he's just like the quintessential, just like he just right wing, just like of the 1950s era of just like fuck them commies, type character.
Just so paranoid and stuff. If you say the wrong dialogue to him, he'll freak out and pull out a M16, blast you, and then he falls on that button and it launches all the missiles off.
Jesus, man.
Because that's the thing, this game is filled with a bunch of those really fun game over screens, so it's you want to save all the time because you never know when like a dialogue entry is going to screw you over.
Yep. Yeah, that is absolutely something that I got used to really quickly. Is just like pretty much every time you would walk through a new door or go talk to a new NPC that you've never talked to before, or even like a subsequent conversation or whatever. Yeah, absolutely, you're saving constantly, and the game warns you about that too. Like earlier on, it's in one of the tutorial messages, it says save often, and whatnot. So. Because even like my very first time that I died, I hadn't saved up till the point of like punching Jimmy and getting shot down by him, or whatever. And by that point, because I had a fully explored Steve's room and the living room and the kitchen and talked to everybody and did all the dialogue things and blah blah blah. That burnt like 20 minutes, and it's like, and it sucked, but at the same time, it's just like, well, I don't need to examine everything again because it doesn't matter. It's just text, that's already in my head. So it's just like, cool, go talk to mom, do the thing, trigger the, cutscene, whatever, pop outside, and it takes you 30 seconds to get to that point again, but I do like.
Yeah, that is the nice thing though. Is like, when you do get a game over, and you can realize you could skip through a lot of stuff pretty darn fast to get back to right where you are. But yeah, no, I would pretty much save every single time I went to a new location. I just saved because I just knew something was going to happen. Didn't take much. Said the wrong thing and so on. Because now you're just going around town, okay, and you meet all kinds of people. I mean, you go to the fire department, and the fire department's hilarious because it's just they're all flaming gay.
Yep.
And there's just like, you go inside and they're painting, there's like this nude guy sitting there in the dead center and they're like painting him and everything like that and so on. And I love also the town's all really angry, like they're like, the fire department never gets anything done, we just need some real men in there.
Yeah. Like literally everybody's talking, the TV station people are talking shit about the firemen and stuff. Oh man, it's so good.
And then some of even the other places you explore, there's like that one, the abandoned house with like the wasp lady in there and so on like that, which it's another one of those ones. I was trying to figure that out the whole time. I'm like, what was the whole point of that wasp lady's house? I did do, once I beat the game, I kind of reloaded and I had an older save file back where I was still in town, and I just went around kind of exploring and just doing the thing where like, what happens if you randomly kill somebody? Because you can actually, because by this point I realized you could go and kill people. I got to the lodge and I didn't realize I could actually like kill people without being like a scene, like or part of like the storyline scene.
So there was 2 deaths that I did by the time I made it to the lodge, and or 2.
Yeah, that's what you told me.
And but like, how did you, or maybe it doesn't even matter. Like, did you get the deed to the TV station from the TV executive?
I didn't get it. I got that on my when I went back and played because I didn't know you could get that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, see, like I thought I had to get it. Like majority of the things that are in this game, like I thought were like a necessity. Like I had to get them. And like I could see the wall safe over there and like, clicked around the whole environment trying to figure out like what to do. And then finally it just kind of like dawned on me. I was like, well, I have this baseball bat. I saved and I like walked up and just like, and like literally the TV exec is one of the funny deaths when I was telling you last night about the funny deaths in this game. Because you like literally like walk up to him, and I'm not sure if it was just because I had the baseball bat or maybe it's every weapon, but like it's literally just a one hit. Just like Steve just fucking just winds up and just cracks him across the head, and he just like slumps into his chair and then falls down, just like blood starts pouring out of his head and shit. And it's just like, god damn, like it's just such a quick and brutal death, But yeah, literally everybody, you can kill anybody in this game that you want to.
You could literally kill your mom.
Right.
And the funny thing too is you kill your mom and then the police come to arrest you, and then your mom's there when you're getting executed. In the cutscene.
Yeah. Dude, that's another one that so this game basically has like a 3 strikes you're out rule when it comes to like getting arrested or whatever. So you can basically like fail like 3 times, before it's game over screen or whatever. And there's like multiple categories of this. It's like when you're you get sent on this task to like go steal the barber pole or whatever from the barber shop. That was my first arrest, was there, is because like
I got arrested there.
So I forgot to turn off the alarm, And the funniest cutscene, dude, of like this sheriff just coming, picking Steve's ass up, throwing him in the back of the car. Steve's all sad, like sitting in the back of the car, and like goes to the police station. And then the sheriff like takes you home, carries you like into your bedroom or whatever, lays you down, tucks you in, kisses you on the forehead, and then leaves. And then it's like, all right, take possession of your character again. So it's like, Jesus Christ, man.
One of the funniest ones I got too is because when I went back and tried things out that I was just seeing, is I went and I killed the guy that owns the meat store and whatnot, and then I got arrested for that. But they didn't do like an execution, because sometimes when you kill people, like they'll just literally, you get an instant game over. It takes you to like the execution chair and you get electrocuted and everything. Instead, the sheriff comes by and he's like, well, I know you shouldn't have been out there killing that guy, but that's just a one strike thing now. We're just going to take you home. So he took me home and did the same thing after I just murdered someone.
It's so goofy, dude. It's so goofy. There's just like, I mean, yeah, let's explain like, so on day one, again, like Spence is saying, like majority of it's just going around building to building, just hearing people out, kind of starting to get like a semblance of like some little quest lines, little sub quest lines and whatnot. But eventually, like you make it to the lodge, and essentially, like all that you really need to do is like go get the application to join the lodge or whatever. So like when you talk to this man, he's just like this robed, hooded, cult looking dude, with just this really fucking dark and demonic voice, and like it's just like, it's so funny. It's so funny.
And I just have a feeling that's got to be one of the main creators of the game. I don't know. When I saw them, like, that's 100% got to be one of the main guys who put this game together.
Yeah, 100%. But he just like, he basically just like sends you on this just random escapade of just day after day. He just sends you on tasks to essentially go prank people that you just are ruining people's lives with these pranks, dude.
Well, at first it feels like it's almost like it's a fraternity, like, and you're getting like assigned here. So he's like, I almost want to say one of the first ones is you have to go and key this one dude's car who just loves his 50s Chevrolet thing so much, like and he parks in the garage. He'll talk to you how much he loves it and so on like that. And of course, this guy, like a lot of characters, he's like creeping because it's this guy's like 60 years old, but he's like trying to get with the girl at the diner who's like 25.
Yeah.
And she's probably 30, but
it just straight says like, yeah, she needs a good hard dick. It's just like, what the fuck?
Yeah, because that's the thing about this one. This game is just like, yeah, it's in that time period where like I think PC games, nobody's looking at them, so it's like they can just say whatever they want. You know what I mean? And yeah, there is no filtering in this like whatsoever, dude. Like some of the dialogue is just like Spence said at the start of this episode, like puts games to shame that are created nowadays in terms of its violence and whatnot. It's just like, holy shit. Yeah, it's like if this game was considered a mature rated game, it makes any other game that's mature rated nowadays seem like it's barely a teen.
Right.
Like it's like that in between, like an E10 anymore.
Yeah, exactly. And nowadays, like especially looking at it through today's lens, it's funny, like it's just more funny than anything, but it is shocking, to like again, like put yourself in the 96 shoes, like playing that game.
Yeah. Because it comes across that same way that I feel like the original Postal kind of does too, where it's just, when you're kind of like playing it, you're like, wow, this is really dark feeling. Like, because that original Postal is like, it's not like the second one where it's like they kind of ape the comedy aspect of it. That first one's just like dark. Yeah. And it's just literally like, yeah, you wake up and you're going to go shoot. It's got these loading screens that are just like satanic and just looks like you're going through like the gates of hell, and then all of a sudden it's like, here you are as the shooter, you're going to go kill your entire town.
Yep, exactly. Yeah,
and Harvester falls in like that almost like same category. It reminds me a lot of that. But just some of that dialogue people say, because there's like this game when like stuff gets dark. I mean, it gets like super dark. I mean, like darker than like movies, darker than like a lot of times even books and so on like that. Like there's stuff in there. It's like, oh, that's a ballsy choice. What happens,
Yep.
And yeah, from you're doing your little pranks. You're going around. As I said, you scratch a car. That's like one of the main ones you do. And then the interesting thing too is once you do it, is everybody has like dialogue that kind of like goes around with it, like, oh, we heard old Eddie got his car scratched. Oh, he know how much he loved that car and all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
So you get these cool little interesting little tidbits that kind of stack and add, and some of the stuff's just there for just good comic value more than anything else.
Yeah, dude. It's just like the other funny so it's an FMV sequence and it happens literally at the end of every day, and it's just like it's Steve walking into his bedroom and he's got his like little flannel on, and he like unbuttons it and like rips it off and like like that's like this like large yawn and stretch. And it's just like, god damn it, like why? But no, yeah, so the car scratching, all of these like tasks that you're sent on by the what's the dude's name? I can't remember. It's like it's not the lodge master or some shit.
Yeah, the taskmaster,
Sergeant at Arms.
Yeah, Sergeant at Arms. Yes. Yeah, that's right.
So so again, like he's sending you on a task daily, and it starts off like pretty harmless. Like Spence says, like you talk to Mr. Johnson. He's in the corner of the town. He's got this fancy car or whatever, and he's just like, and he's telling you about this like heavily fortified fortress of a fucking garage he has behind him, and how he built this thing because the goddamn neighborhood kids keep coming by and they're gonna scratch up his car and blah blah blah, and he just loves the thing so much and yada yada. So anyway, so it starts off like a harmless prank. You go scratch up the car with a screwdriver or whatever, you leave, you go back home, you fall asleep, you wake up the next day, people in town starting to talk about it and whatnot, and then you go back to the Sergeant at Arms, and then he's like, oh, like, thank you for taking on this one quest, but I've got more for you, and then he sends you on the next thing. And I think this is the barbershop one where you have to go.
I think that there's the towel one you have to get from the fire department or whatever.
Yeah.
Because I want to say that was another one that was kind of like not really, it was kind of harmless in a sense. Because that's the thing, is they start off kind of like almost like pranks, and then shit gets real.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Which that one is hilarious. So there's also like night sequences here too. So like whenever Steve's gonna go do devious things or whatever, like he like waits for night, and like and you go to the fire station to go get the cloth thing or whatever, and you enter in, and like the naked man that is in the middle of the room during the daytime where the firemen are painting him or whatever, there's just like a lump in the middle of the bed with a sheet over it.
He's just still sitting there.
You pull the thing up and he's just sitting there. And you're like, what are you doing here? And he's like, this is just what I do. This is where I sit.
I like. He says something like he's like, but he's like, you just sit. He's like, well, I'm just an object.
Yeah. So stupid, dude. So stupid. So anyway, so you get a ladder, you climb up, you grab the fucking cloth thing, you go back home, same sequence, Steve pulling off his clothes and shit, and then it's day 3. But like as these things are like progressing, man, like the pole, when you finally go to the barbershop to go steal the pole, it's a really easy task. Like basically you go up to the barbershop, again, nighttime Steve, and I have to comment on his little walk, his little shuffle or whatever, because he's so fucking devious, like walking around. Like it's just like reminds me of like old cartoon, like supervillain, tiptoeing through the streets and shit. But anyways, so you have like electrical tape, and you put electrical tape on the window or whatever, so you can use like the hammer to like smash through the thing without setting off the alarm and causing a bunch of noise or whatever, and then blah blah blah. Anyway, so you steal this fucking pole, and you see it happen like as you're doing it, like you rip the like Steve rips the fucking pole off the wall or whatever and sticks it in his inventory, and you see like 2 wires just lay down, or whatever, but you don't think anything of it, you just did some electrical shit, pulled it off. And Steve just like hodunk just walks on out of there, just like, okay, I guess I got the pole, and go back home and go back to bed or whatever. And then you wake up the next day, dude, and your mom's just like, oh, did you hear what happened to whatever Italian man's name is? Like, what? No, well, he lit on fire, he got burnt up and blah blah blah. Bro, when I went back to that, so like waking up that morning, I leave the house, you give the fucking newspaper to Jimmy, and then you go to the barbershop. And there's still like old man sitting in the corner with little midget dude. Like they're still playing chess. They're still talking about fucking aliens and shit. But there's the poor fucking Italian man is just in the corner of the room, just shriveled up and burnt to shit. just hunched over like this. And you're like, what the fuck? And you see it. You see the cables laying in the ground or whatever. And notably, when you first come across that man, or on day one when you first go to the barber shop, he always has a mop in his hand, so he's constantly mopping the floors and shit. So it makes sense. He put water on the floor. He hits the fucking light switch. It burns him up.
And then I just love the guys still show up just like business as usual to hang out there.
It's so good.
And the one actually extremely major character we forgot to mention is that you go to visit your soon-to-be fiance, and you can go to her house, which is right next door. And at first you have to go. It's a weird one because it's like you ask like the dad. He's like, "Oh, you gotta go talk to the mom," and he's just this big fat guy sitting on the couch, looking over. He's like, "Steve, your dad's got to get me into the meat. I just want that big tasty meat."
So your dad's the butcher of the town. He wants you to marry Stephanie, the daughter character of this fat man or whatever, because he wants dad's meat.
Yeah, he wants free meat. There's literally a poster or a mural behind, or a painting behind him of just two hands grabbing like a big old piece of red meat.
Yep.
And then you go in the back, you go talk to that mom, and then she's kind of confused. She's like, well, you got to go ask Mr. Pottsman or whatever. So you go back to him, and then finally you can go upstairs and talk to Stephanie.
Yep. And then same thing, like she has no idea what's going on either. She's just as amnesia as you are, like has the same affliction. So
yeah, and then she's just been locked in her room. She can't go out. She has to wait to this wedding. She's not too sure. And then you can kind of go in there and you can kind of tell her about what happened at night and so on. You can either lie to her or tell her the truth, and it gives you those kind of dialogue options to go back and forth on.
Yep. The final task that this sergeant at arms man throws you on, he basically tells you like, go burn down the diner. And Steve's like, what? He's like, so far I've scratched the car, I've stolen a piece of cloth, I've actually burn up the fucking dude, but whatever. But go burn down the diner, like, what are you talking about? And he's just like, yeah, like this thing doesn't need to exist anymore, and yada yada. Meanwhile, like, you have met Edna at that point. Edna's the owner of the diner. She has her little girl. I forgot the little girl's name or whatever.
Yes.
You call her Gretchen or whatever the fuck.
Little 6-year-old girl and everything like that. She seems a nice little kid's always there playing and whatnot. And of course, the sheriff's always in the diner eating pie because that's what he does.
Yep. Fat bastard. And I don't remember what comes first because Mr. Potsdam, there's a scene where you have to go to the graveyard. And this is in reference to a little girl. But you have to go to the graveyard on one of the nights. And as you're doing that, you see him in the farthest screen over within the graveyard. You see him like digging something. And you walk up and you can talk to him or whatever. And you kind of catch him with whatever he's doing, except for he doesn't really explain why he's really there. He's just like, oh, well, my dog died and blah, blah, blah. I'm just burying it. Just leave me alone. And blah, blah, blah. Well, you wake up like the next day and then you understand that the little girl's missing, like she's just gone at that point or whatever. So you kind of start to put two and two together. You go back to the graveyard. You use the shovel that you got earlier. You dig her up or whatever. She's still alive in my game, anyways. There's two different ways you can go about that story quest too. So like, if you wait long enough, or if you let too much time progress or whatever, she ends up dying.
Yeah, I read about that.
So the way that mine went down is like I said, she was still alive. She was still buried alive, like in the graveyard. Or I take her back to mom, like make mom feel good about it and whatnot. Later that I think that's the day that you take the barber pole, or leading up to the day you take the barber pole, because the next day you talk to the sergeant at arms and then he tells you to burn down the diner. And I was feeling like shit about that because I literally just saved the little girl, made the mom feel good and whatnot, and now I gotta go burn down the diner. But anyways, so now we're leading up to that night, and like I love like walking into the diner, or like breaking into the diner or whatever, and like you do see like so many tactile things in this game that like just totally makes sense. Turn on the grease fryers, you start to see the things start to light up, and whatnot, and then you have like a matchbook, and it's like use matchbook on grease fire, bam, and then everything starts to light up. The other thing I heard too is that if you stick around long enough, like Steve will actually burn up in there, like it's a death screen or whatever. You stay around long enough, which is pretty funny.
Yeah, you get caught in the explosion or whatnot.
Yeah. So you burn down the diner, and same thing. It's just like, okay, mission accomplished. Steve gets to go back home and take his shirt off, and go to bed and whatnot. You wake up the next day, and it's just like, oh, you go talk to mom, and like, oh, Edna killed herself. like
that diner was everything to her.
And then you go back to the diner, and there's like a flashback sequence of like Edna standing there like with a rope around her neck, just like talking about how she's like literally about to shove her child off the chair because they can't live in this world any longer because the diner was everything to them. Just
yeah, it's actually, because that's like, I feel like that's the part where it's like, that gets like really intense. It's like, okay, Edna kills both her and her little dog. They hang each other, and they're just, you go in there and the two bodies are just hanging there and whatnot like that. It's just like, oh shit, like, because I burnt this diner down, they literally killed both of them. Yeah. And then you also have that little girl, like, that little girl gets like so abused in this, because you learn that Mr. Pottsman, not only did he bury her, but he also molested her and everything like that, because this guy's just a total creep. He literally has a hole so he can watch Stephanie, who's your fiance, where he creepily looks through and whatnot, which you could also creepily look through too, because if you find it in there. But there's like a part which happens about around this time where Stephanie's like, he's like, oh, you know what, Steve, I want you, come with me, and like she takes you to bed and whatnot and pulls off her clothes and everything like that, and then you just see Mr. Pottsman opens up the side. He's just like, and it's just all red and like this is like nasty and so on. And so you just realize that this guy's just such a I feel like I look at that guy like it's just the guy who has to do the acting job of this. I'm like, that poor bastard. Like, he's playing such a nasty, like, scummy villainy character right there.
Seriously. Yeah, no, absolutely. It's too good. So I guess kind of at this point, like, you've turned in the application, you've done all the tasks, you've done all the things, and now it's time to join the lodge. And
I guess the TV station also blows up too, but even though that's not necessarily you. That's there's this old postman guy who's notorious. He apparently, nobody has him on record, but he's burnt down the newspaper building, and then he goes to blow up the television studio and so on like that. But
well, like I said, there's a bunch of ties. So like the sheriff, the TV executive, postman Boyle. There's like ties between all of them, and it has something to do with that property deed that I was talking about that I killed the executive to get. So what you can do is like once I acquired that, I went back to the general store and I copied it. So I did a photocopy of it. I gave one to the postmaster, and then I gave the other, like the original, to the sheriff. Now, by giving the one to the sheriff, it triggered something for a cutscene with the sheriff where he like got mad at me because I had that thing or whatever, and then he ended up taking me to jail, and it was an instant game over. So I don't understand. I didn't follow through with that whole story arc of like what's going on. But seeing, when you go to the evidence room in the police station, you get the gas can, you give that back to Mr. Boyle because he's freaking out because like the police have his gas can or whatever, knowing that he burnt down the fucking news station earlier. There's that quick scene of him like running over to the fucking news station and like dumping the gas and like lighting on fire and like scurrying on out. Like, it's so good.
And he was speaking of, there was one that like so the deputy guy is there at the sheriff. It's this guy's like, oh,
Loomis.
So yeah, Loomis. Oh man, you got the prettiest girl in town. Oh boy. And then he's like, if you could just get me one of those magazines with those beautiful girls in it and so on. And so you get this guy a porno magazine, and then he's like, oh, I'm gonna be in the back for a bit, and he like goes back there like to go, like he's just like in this like jerk off position, and then the sheriff comes in. He's like, oh damn it, Lewis, you got one of those magazines, and he runs over there and he like gets it out and he like wraps it up and then starts slapping him like it's a dog. Just like, no more jerking off in the back room.
The context leading up to that is so fucking funny, dude, because like Loomis just talks about how much like he hates his wife because his wife won't let him have the dirty porno mags anymore. And he hates that his wife is best friends with the general store's woman, the owner, because like the woman won't sell him the thing because she'll tell the wife and the wife will beat him. And he talks about how he gets beat with this broom and how it's just up and down and up and down and just so much blood and blah, blah, blah. And just like obviously talking about ramming up his asshole. It's like, Jesus fucking fucking Christ. And then, yeah, dude. And then just the cherry on top is the sheriff coming in and beating him with the fucking magazine. Just, God damn it. You can't do this no more. So funny, dude. So funny. And then, like, so when you got arrested, did you explore around like the actual cell itself or whatever?
Yeah, I did on one of those ones.
So hilarious line, and there's a lot of this in this game. But if you click on the bed in the cell or whatever, it literally just says like, remnants of Loomis's favorite spot. Like, God. It's so good. Oh man.
Well, another big discovery that you have too is when you figure out why your dad's been sick this whole time and locked up and so on, because you finally literally break into your own house like through the window and you find dad, and you come into this room and it's just this bedroom and there's just blood all over the walls and there's like this naked ass cheeks on the wall and there's just like all this like S&M gear and so on like that, and dad's just in bed and he's all wrapped up like a mummy and he's just all bleeding and so on. He's like, "Oh son, I'm glad you finally came to visit, but your mom's not there, is she?" Like no. I was like, "Oh, good. Let's hope it stays that way."
She's just talking about like last night, the barbed wire. It hurts so bad. Just like Jesus Christ. Oh man.
And apparently, I never got this cutscene, but I was trying to get it because it was one of those. There's a little section that was kind of interesting in like on Steam where somebody put a guide together just said fun things to do in Harvester. Yeah. So I was kind of going through there and trying to check some of them out, and one of them I just didn't have the right save for because you kind of had to almost do it like on like maybe give or take day 3. But if you went back there at nighttime and whatnot and stuck back in that room or whatnot, then mom would be in there like her dominatrix outfit and so on like that.
Yeah, I bet.
And I think you get a game over screen from it too or something like that, of course. Like, why would you not?
Yep. Yeah. No, just like that's the thing. It's just like the shockingness of it. You know, it's like something is wrong the entire time. That because like in very commonly throughout dialogue with different NPCs, people are asking about your dad, and you're like, "Yeah, I've never seen him." I'm told he's at home, he's sick in bed, but like I've never seen him. And then to finally come across that, like a good 3 hours into your run, and it's just like, oh my god,
he's just tortured to death.
Jesus. Okay.
And then the other fine thing too is your mom also just the actress that plays like the other people's moms in there with just different wigs on and so on like that, just to make it feel like everybody's mom's like really like the same person, just
And that's a comment that Steve even says when you go to Miss Potsdam or whatever, like your fiance's mother or whatever, you're just like, you look just like my mother, like whatever, like there's a line that says that, so yeah, that's funny. I guess I didn't put 2 and 2 together, but
yeah. Well, once he said that line, I was like, oh yeah. And then when I saw that, because there's like the third whatever lady for like the bake sale and whatnot, they're all kind of leading there. Oh, and then one thing I want to mention is because some of those random houses, like okay, like that bee lady, because we kind of mentioned that, or the wasp lady, we didn't come back to that because that lady has like nothing to do story wise. I just has random stuff in there. When I went back just to try things around, I went to kill that lady, and when you club her over the head, she falls over and her head falls off, and the bottom part of her body is a wasp. And I was like, whoa!
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. See,
and she's one of the few you can kill, and the police don't show up.
Yeah. Because I thought that she was gonna have something to do with the fire department, because there's a dialogue line in the fire department early on day 1 that they talk about the bee lady's house, and they're talking about how the news station burned down, and they're like, oh, bee lady house is next, more or less, like they're speculating that. So like I assume that. Which is funny. You go burn down the diner, like you'd think you would go burn down the bee lady house or something like that. So, but yeah, nothing ever happened out of that. And I'd be curious to see if there's actually any kind of pathing, that does have, something you can do more with that. So,
oh, and then another one I was just to say, just before we just even get to I feel like the lodge is. Did you get the scene when you go to the elementary school? and you go to talk to the teacher, and and then you I can't remember what you say, but she goes, "Oh, I need to discipline this one kid," and she walks out and just beats the living daylights out of this little kid, and blood just shooting up and everything.
No.
Yeah, because I think you asked something about corporal punishments, like the line, and when you click that, she takes this kid out and just beats. He's like, "Oh,
Jesus, no, but the rapey freaking principal though, Jesus Christ, dude, like the guy talking about quality time, like we need to share some quality time." Just like, talking about punishing kids with quality time, it's just like, yeah, gnarly.
Yeah, there's that's the thing, is there's just so much weird little things you can trigger. Or even like the other one too is like when you finally get later in the week, when you finally, there's a couple cutscenes with like your little sister or whatever who's in the baby crib and whatnot, and there's one where mom goes over to like, it's like an FMV, and goes over to look at it, and there's like the eyes are like popping out of the kid's head, and then mom just takes her thumbs and just pops them back in. You know, or there's a couple ones where like she's eating, just like a bug comes by and she just eats it.
Yeah, so many weird things.
It's so bizarre stuff that like it's never really explained.
Yeah, and I think that's something that for our audience too is like, you know, we could sit here and go, you know, like building to building, dialogue to dialogue line, but like that's the point of this game, is to go experience that. That's why we're kind of like skimming over, you know, like hitting major points, but kind of skimming through stuff because
there's so much in there that just stands out and whatnot, and just these interesting moments.
And God knows what I miss versus what you miss versus what you did versus what I did. You know, I mean, like there's so many variables, because another massive piece of this that you briefly mentioned at the start is like, you know, you're talking to an NPC and you have your set choices of dialogue that you can select on or whatever, but you also have the ability to physically type in something on your keyboard to the people and hope that you get a result, you know. I didn't play around with that a whole bunch because, like, Lord knows, you know, like what is the ceiling here for like, you know, custom dialogue or whatever. But it's a cool feature, you know, it's a cool thing to have, you know. So again,
because I tried that too, because I tried to say I tried to talk shit to the little brother and whatnot, and every single time it was just whatever I said, like whatever curse word I'd throw in there, you know, it wouldn't do anything. And then I saw one on that fun things to do list, because that's the thing about that custom dialogue is I tried it a handful of times. It's like I couldn't find anything that would give a response or anything like that. But there was one that said, go tell fuck you to your mom. And then if you go to do that, she has some weird dialogue. She's like, well, maybe later, honey, we can do it together. It'll be fun.
Yep.
You're like, oh.
Yep.
So you get some weird stuff there. But beyond that, I don't know any other ones where there is. I bet you if somebody has a list that would be what you can say in the custom ones and so on, there's got to be some hidden dialogues.
Yeah.
But yeah, you have that. You have all the things you can kind of click on, and then all, you know, certain ones lead different directions and so on. But by about this point is when you finally have ran through. You've kind of met generally all the characters. You go to the bake sale, I guess, is towards that tail end and whatnot. And I think that's tied in with the same time that the diner burns down, because they get all pissy because they ruined their bake sale, you know. But finally, you're able to get into the lodge after all this time and whatnot. You've done all the tasks and so on, and everything's been kind of leading up to this. And this is where the game almost becomes like game 2. It really actually turns into like you know, same gameplay style, but just completely different game at this point. You're now inside this lodge, which is like these levels, and now all of a sudden there's combat galore.
Yep.
You know, and it starts to almost be more like Resident Evil and so on like that, where you have the limited resources and so on. And
the survival horror side of our podcast, like this is where it happens in this game, like 100%. There was a notable shift. So just for context, like in the 2 sessions that I played this is the point where I stopped on day 1 of me playing through. It's like I played through all the dialogue, all the shit, and got through all the quests and tasks and all blah, blah, blah in the lodge. Okay, stopping here, gonna start again tomorrow, blah, blah, blah. And
that's the same thing I did too. I did, because I stopped right at the lodge. I'm like, you know, I'm gonna stop here, or else I'm gonna I don't want to outpace Cameron too much.
Right. You know, and I think it's a perfect place to stop, because like the town leading up to this point, I mean, again, with a guide, you know, probably a good 3 hours, you know, I would say like 3-4 hours, maybe somewhere around there. This point forward is probably an hour and a half, 2 hours at most, just depending on deaths and, you know, things like that. But this is where the game turns like super cool. There's a lot of really cool stuff in here that just again, like between characters and dialogue and the combat model and just the lodge in general, you know, like having the theater of pain, the theater of blah blah blah, the theater, you know, like all these like different areas that you go to and whatnot. You know, I thought was super fun. And so
yeah, and just like this build up as you kind of go through these like trials and tests and everything inside this lodge and whatnot. And now puzzles start to kind of appear more frequently, you know, and just a lot of these kind of just weird enemies and stuff, from everything from like monsters to just, you know, you have to fight certain people. And this part too, there's a lot of people you can just kind of freely kill in this section too. You can either talk to them or you can kill them or whatnot. So like it kind of opens that up a lot more past like what the town part was.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely killed a lot of people in this area and whatnot. You know, one that kind of took me by surprise was the dude in the coat room or whatever, and you have the toga hanging up on the wall or whatever, you know, and whatnot. And I couldn't figure out what to do in that room, you know, other than like if you try to touch that thing, like he gets fucking mad, you know. And so I clicked on it twice. He pulled out that shotgun, he blew my head off and killed me, you know, or whatever. I was like, okay, well, maybe if I kill him first, then I can get the shotgun, and I can grab the toga, then I can move the thing and go through the secret door and blah, blah, do all the things. And that's exactly what happened. That's how I got the shotgun. Is like, you know, just by killing that dude, you know. And then by doing the secret door in there, you also get the scythe and you get like more shotgun ammo and whatnot in there too. And I basically use that scythe for almost everything except for a couple of encounters.
So. Yeah, that's pretty much what I did too. Well, if the guy has like a long range gun, then you need a long range gun.
Right.
You know, that was always kind of like the rule of thumb for the most part.
Yep.
But yeah, you kind of go through and you're just killing all kinds of things at this point. You're going through these like dark areas, you know, from like a butcher who's in the kitchen where he's just cutting up a bunch of like human bodies and so on like that. You got killer plants and all kinds of weird things there, you know, and you're progressively making your way. And I'm trying to think, it's like you're looking for like beforehand, to get to the lodge, there's a part where you go but the Mr. Pottsman's house went on to go see Stephanie, and you get there and it sounds like Mr. Pottsman literally killed and murdered Stephanie, which doesn't seem out of character for him and whatnot. And all that's laying on her bed now is this blood stain and like a spine and a skull. And that's what you need to take to get into the lodge, you know. And there's a note there and everything. Yeah, like this was that big pivotal point. But you don't believe that Stephanie's truly dead. You're not too sure. You know, of course, the sheriff's there and he's eating pie.
That was another cutscene that made me laugh so fucking hard, because like you show up, so like Spence says, like you show up to Pottsman's house again. Stephanie's been there like the entire time. You show up to her room, she's not there anymore. There's a pool of blood in the middle of the thing. It's a spine and a skull on the end of it or whatever. And the fucking sheriff is just sitting there with this little plate and his pie, and he's just, you know, eating along and whatnot. And you're like, what is this? And he's just like, she died. And then you're just like, yeah, but how? Natural causes. And you're like, natural causes? And he's just like, ain't natural to not have a spine. You know? Case closed. Like, it's just like, dude, I love And then
the wife comes up, more pie, Sheriff? Well, I sure will.
Yeah, I sure will. It's so stupid, dude. So stupid. Yeah. But again, just wacky written characters, and I adore all of it, man. The way that they like filmed it, like everything, like you said. I'd be really curious to see, like, you know, like a post interview of any one of these actors in like did you really, like, you know, did you know what this was going to be like so many voice actors of current age that, like, especially in bad voice acting games, like where you know that they weren't told like the context behind the character or whatever, you know, it's just, you're just a voice actor, just give me the line, you know. Like, yeah,
you came in for a 2-hour session and then you were gone.
This seems like it was like rehearsed and, like, you know, like everybody knew like their role and whatnot. So I'd love to see interviews of, you know, actors of this game.
Yeah, well, because it's made like a movie, so that's the thing. Is like, I feel like you probably had a little bit better idea what was going on and so on. And then even as like, I think one of the coolest parts of the lodge though is, what, you know, the first couple parts is like you do have these kind of almost interesting kind of puzzles and you're solving things and so on. There is that one where you go to battle the guy, the chess master one.
Yes.
And that dude's death, which I tried to legitimately play that chess game and I couldn't figure out how to grab the piece properly. And as I was clicking, I must have clicked them because at some point I just got to the point where I started clicking anything. I'm like, dude, I don't know how to grab any of this stuff here. Right. And then I eventually did a wrong move. And then the guy got up and then I swung the scythe or whatever, killed him. And then he slams that axe into his face.
It's the funniest fucking. So if you defeat him in the chess game or whatever, he just gets super upset and his eyes get all wide or whatever, and it's that same exact scene, you know. It's just like he has a fucking battle axe that he just smashes himself in the head with. It's like, Jesus Christ.
Well, and then it just leaves this great, like, gory, like, scene where his head's cut open and whatnot, and just all the gore and guts and everything, and there's a key inside.
Yep. Yeah, the other one that was the massive pain in the ass, and I'm not even really sure how to describe this, but when you enter the room, there's like a dude that's like, he's got all these TVs behind him and whatnot, and he's like the radio remote dude or whatever, and he like points and he like, you know, spawns in an enemy. It's like some dude in a trench coat or whatever, you know.
Oh God,
that encounter, I had to save right before that. I probably played that encounter a good 6-7 times, dude, like to actually
easily. I did too, because a lot of times too, even when I beat him, I was like, dude, I went through like all my ammo or health, so I had to like restart again because I screwed it up. And then it's like, not only is that guy a pain in the ass, then afterwards, Robbie the robot shows up, you know, who's not nearly as difficult, but by that point though, you're still like, oh, I don't want to get hit anymore or waste my shotgun ammo on this thing.
So that's the one comment that I'll give to, and this is very much a wireframey looking thing or type topic. But so like I mentioned earlier, like Jimmy's interaction, when I first punched Jimmy, I'm on top of his frame, so he can't hurt me, you know, because we're on the same frame or whatever. This fight in particular, the dude that gets spawned in or whatever, I tried to spawn one frame to the left of him, you know, to where we were side by side, and I had the chainsaw out just ready, you know, and as he's doing his animation, like coming into the scene or whatever, like the moment that you can recognize like when he's actually interactable at that point, because he like does this animation move or whatever, and I just start just jamming on the fucking chainsaw, just you know, just like over and over, and I was burning through my fuel like not, you know, but like sometimes it would work, sometimes it wouldn't. And then I would try like, okay, maybe if I stop on the same exact frame he is, maybe I can just hit him from here. But same thing that happened with Jimmy. It's just like, we're both trying to hit each other, swinging wildly around, not hitting shit, you know? So it's like, fuck. I tried the shotgun, I tried the nail gun, I tried the, you know, like I tried like so many different things. And eventually it was like literally just the chainsaw, one frame in front of him, and just spam the living shit out of it. Kill him quickly, and then when Robbie comes out, go into your inventory, equip the shotgun, bam, 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 done. Like that's how I got that done, you know? It's like, Jesus.
Yeah, that part was, as I said, it took me a long time because it's weird. It's like that battle and the battle that comes next. It's like those two like in a row. And granted, the last battle is actually not a problem as long as you have ammo. If you don't have ammo, though, I don't know what you do for that last one because
I don't know either.
Yeah, like so that you could literally get kind of screwed right there in game if like you don't have any extra shotgun ammo. But I want to say that third lodge area, I think, is actually one of the most interesting points of that game because that's the one where like pretty much where you go through as Steve, and it's almost like you go through almost like this like trials and tribulations, like almost like if it was like some Greek mythology thing, and there's all these different rooms you go into, and each one has like a different like thing going on. Like there's one of the first rooms you show up to is like one of the most weird and bizarre ones. Is there's like literally like this mother like laying back, and her like 3 children like are eating her and whatnot, and she literally goes like, you know, childbirth is just children eating you and taking from you, and that's what life is that they just keep absorbing you and taking all that you have until you have nothing left, you know, going through this, and the kids are just like munching and eating her like a zombie, and it's just. And then, like, the weird thing, too, is, like, once that dialogue's over, the kids get up, and you literally kill these kids, that's a perfect example, too, is, like, that's something you do not see, like, in video games post, like, 2000. Because, you know, like, that, like, is, like, so, like, out there. And it's like, funny, because, like, not only you kill Jimmy in the beginning, like, so you have that, but the fact that, like, you can literally kill all these little kids that come running at you and so on, and then you can go over and kill the mother if you want or not.
Right. It's morbid, dude. Like, there's a handful of things in this game that even, like, Like I'm tough. I can handle mostly anything and whatnot. And not to say that this is like bad, really, but comparatively to stealing the barber pole versus burning down the fucking diner, scratching the car versus killing the kids. It's like God damn. Like there's certain content in this game that's just like wow.
Yeah, for me it's just more. It's like wow. It's ballsy. It's like that's the thing. It's like I give them total props for going like that. Because then it's like you go through all kinds of other ones. There's one where like you go through and there's like a Korean War veteran guy, and the first room you get to is just a bunch of like dead Asians laying on the ground. You're like, what the fuck's this all about and whatnot. And then you get to the next room and then there's like a Korean War guy who's just like freaking out and whatnot like there and so on. And then even like there's a point where you get to like a gladiator room and like the message is like, you have to kill these two old people. They've served their purpose. There is nothing left for them. You know what I mean? Take them out now.
So, that one in particular, that one just made me laugh, dude. Just because you have like these two just ancient old people just on their knees, like, please, don't kill us, don't kill us, don't kill. And you got this like hulking brute of like a gladiator dude just standing there, like, you will do this. So, reading the strategy guide that I was reading on. So supposedly, like, it doesn't matter if who you kill in this case or whatever, but if you kill the gladiator, you get the ancient sword or something. You get like some sword that's supposedly not any better than the scythe or anything. So it's really not worth your time unless you just want to see this happen. Yeah. But what they say is like kill the elderly couple because like there's no consequence to that whatsoever. So kill the elderly couple. Meanwhile, while the gladiator dude is like distracted because of those deaths or whatever, because he's going on talking or whatever. While he's distracted there, grab the chainsaw, then run over to him and just take him out real quick, and basically stun lock him, and then you can get the ancient sword or the sword or whatever that way. I guess if you go after him directly, he's a really, really tough fight. I never even tried. I just killed the elderly couple and I left. So
yeah, I actually killed that guy. I literally just chainsawed that guy. That's what I did instead of killing the old. I'm like, well, let's see what happens if I kill this guy.
Oh, nice.
I didn't ever use that sword, to tell you the truth. I picked it up, but I never used it. Really? I think I might have swung it once, but I didn't, for some reason, use it. Yeah.
Because basically at this point, there's like 2 more screens before the end of the game, at this point of the game. So
yeah, because you just go through. Well, there's a couple other weird ones too. They're all really interesting. There's like one where you go like there's the room with the hookers, which are just literally those moms from the bake sale.
Right.
And apparently, like I read like I killed one though because she came and attacked me, so I just killed her. But apparently, you could pay one of them because you have that $200 that I forgot you had and stuff, and then you get the disease, and then you have to take that serum that you find later on. And it's ironic because you take in a sense the serum or whatever that yes it cures the disease, but it also hurts you at the same time.
Yep.
So you have that. There's a bunch of this. There's that one room that has like that lady that like she's like I'm a beautiful lady, but if you give her like the mirror, her face is all like distorted and messed up on one side.
Yeah, I like that one a lot because my my strategy guide tells me to like basically like compliment her until you don't want to, and then she changes, or grab the mirror and then she can take the mirror. She like destroys her own face and blah blah blah. Makes herself even more ugly and yada yada. For me, it was like literally just like she goes. I'm paraphrasing, but just like, oh, who are you and blah blah blah, and like you basically just tell her that she's ugly like right off the bat, and she just like immediately just comes after you. And I killed her ass and I was like, okay, next room.
There we go. So yeah, you blast her all. I mean, there's that one dude getting tortured on there too, Which I do will say that we talked about this earlier, but like sometimes there's some of the controls where you try to get Steve to go around an object where it's just at least that you could use the D-pad on your keyboard, because sometimes some of that stuff, like Steve just will get hung up on things.
Yep. And that was my complaint about a couple of the combat encounters that I had. So this what you're talking about right here, the final scene before you actually like go, or one of the final scenes anyways before you go to the end of the game. There's a dude being tortured on a table. You can either kill the dude that's being tortured on the table, or kill the dude that's in the back of the room that's telling you to kill the guy that's on the table. I wanted to go kill the fat dude in the back of the room or whatever, but like I could not for the life of me get Steve's fucking character model to go around the stupid table where the torturee is, I'm like, so, like at that point, typical gamer frustration, you just start hitting buttons, and I'll like accidentally right click and I just like smacked the dude and like, killed him. And I was like, oh, okay, I guess that's decided for me, I suppose, you know. So,
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's the whole point. So all these rooms are supposed to be like a this or the that decision, you know, the whole way. What do you do in these situations and so on?
what I do find funny, just to comment on real quick though, an object can be on the very other side of the room from Steve's physical model or whatever. The fact that you can still like just grab things and pick them up regardless of where Steve's character model is in the scene, really enjoyed that portion of it. Because if you had to maneuver Steve to get in front of an object, a shiny object or whatever, like the Resident Evil style, but it had the same jankiness of like what I'm describing, where it like can't get around a table, you know, or that would drive me insane. Like
when you can't get a certain special object you need. Yeah, I'm kind of glad you just pick things up and drag them back to Steve, and that's just how it works, you know. Yeah, or I think hopefully that's one of those ones that probably when they're making, they're like, you know what, let's just make that part easy, you know, make that smooth, you know. But after you start going through all these trials and tribulations, you come up to like kind of the final one, and I think you find like the headmaster kind of guy, not the sergeant at arms, but the headmaster battle where you have to shoot both those guys. Well, there's that, and then there's the principal's also there too. He's kind of almost there, and that's like your final boss battle, is you have to kill both those guys. Yep. And it's one of those ones. I feel like if you don't have the shotgun, I don't know how you get past that. Part.
Yeah, I don't know either.
I don't even know if the nail gun would. Maybe if you had the nail gun at full ammo, it might be able to.
Yeah.
But.
No, you absolutely need something ranged there, because I tried melee multiple times. The same thing, saved right before that door, that walked in the door, you know, the cutscene plays or the dialogue starts and whatnot, and then go into that battle. Yeah, there's just not enough time for you to do it with melee, I don't think, anyways.
Well, no, because when Steve gets shot, you get pushed backwards. Right. That's the hardest part, is so you kind of get screwed over.
Mm-hmm. Yep. But yeah, no. But if you have a shotgun, I mean, yeah, it's just like it's basically 3 rounds per dude, you know, and you're done. So
yeah, and technically, I guess the principal, you don't need to use the shotgun. Mostly, he just kind of has collateral damage because I just unloaded.
Yep.
But now you get to the very final end of the game, and you finally find Stephanie, and she is alive up there, your fiance and whatnot. And he's there. She's there with the sergeant at arms guy who talks through telepathy and all that stuff. And this is where some just interesting stuff kind of happens. Almost like you get a choice of 2 endings, in a sense, and you have to kind of go through this. It's like you can either spare Stephanie and live with her and go on, but your life will be kind of like meaningless in a weird way, is like how he kind of phrases it or something like that. Or you have to kill Stephanie and it'll make your life great and whatnot like that. Is he phrases it much better than that, but that's kind of the simple of it.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I had saved right beforehand, or at least I saved right where I shot that principal over many a times because I just reloaded from that point.
Hell yeah.
But it's one of those ones where I start off with the, I guess you would say, you marry Stephanie ending and whatnot, and it's kind of interesting. Mm-hmm. It shows you guys get married, you buy a house, you got a kid, and it goes all the way to like where you're buried in pretty much harvest and whatnot like that. So you go through your whole life in this town, and then it cuts to like what you realize is that you've been sitting in this, and it mentions a couple things like this before at some point, like put some like things that like you are in a simulation or something like that. Yeah,
the sergeant at arms, when he gives you your choice to remain in harvest or to leave harvest or whatever, like is explaining all this to you at that point.
Okay.
So like a lot of this comes to light. But go ahead. What is actually happening in this game?
Yeah. So he explains that like you are sort of in this like Matrix like virtual reality and so on like that. And then what happens is once you go through like what would be like seem like the super happy ending, is you wake up and you guys are like laying there on these like beds and so on like that, like hooked up to these machines, kind of like Matrix style in a sense. Mm-hmm. But then there's these just, you know, guys standing around you and so on, scientists and so on. They're like, well, that was kind of a failed experiment right there. I don't think these guys are going to be good for anything. And so they pull the plug on you, and then you just see like your bar go out of health, and that's it. Yep. Trying to think what else. I want to say that's kind of about it, because that one's almost like the shorter ending as far as that goes.
Yeah, because that's all the sergeant at arms basically describes to you is just like, you know, we can kill you in 5 minutes, but it's still going to seem like a lifetime to you. So go down that path, or you know, we want you to kill Stephanie. So like the whole thing is like it's this insert generic bad corporation company, is wanting to create serial killers, and they steal people, they throw them into this like Sword Art Online style like VR experience, where they send you to, in this particular case, Steve goes to harvest or whatever, and basically like the entire game, the reason why it's so weird, the reason of the Twilight Zone-esque type stuff is because you're in a fucking simulation the entire time, and they're trying to encourage you to kill people so you can become an actual serial killer in real life. And it's like, what?
Well, and so option 2 is you got to literally club Stephanie like multiple times, and she's just screaming and yelling each time you hit it, and you're just like bam, bam, and at first you're like okay, bam, 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 just like beating her, and she's screaming, just bleeding out and so on. Yeah. And of course, the very first time I did that ending, I was clicking right so many times that when the cutscene played, it skipped the cutscene.
Yep.
And so that's why, like, the second time I went in there, I was doing it slow. I was like, bam, bam, because I didn't want to skip that cutscene. So, like, I keep beating her, and then you finally, like, kill her, and then Steve goes full Sub-Zero and rips out her spine and head and skull out.
It's got this circular looking blade thing that you just smack her in the fucking head with or whatever.
Oh yeah, that's right. You use that.
Oh my god.
Just so much, and then you pull it out and there, and then in this version you wake up out of the simulation or whatnot, and it's like you're ready to go, and so like they send you off, and then it shows Steve like hitchhiking on the side of the road, and a lady comes by to pick him up, and he's just got this evil look on her. And she asks where he's going, and he almost says something like nowhere in particular. And then it just cuts backwards to like the full shot of the car, and this lady's just getting stabbed and blood squirting out and everything.
Yep.
And then there's sort of like the continuation ending of this one too, where next thing you know, Steve's sitting at home and he's playing Harvester on his PC and whatnot like that. And his mom walks in the room and she goes, "Oh, you're still playing this game? Isn't that violent one that they're all talking about?"
Yep. He's like, I love his reaction to it too. It's just, "Shut up, mom," or whatever he says. I'm playing Harvester. It's so goofy. And then she mentioned something about like cartoons or something. Like she mentioned something about the Roadrunner and like how violent the Roadrunner is, and he's just like, Roadrunner, starts laughing all fucking goofy and whatnot, and like camera like goes into his mouth and goes down his tube, and like you see like the finger from the woman that he killed in the car earlier and whatnot.
Yeah, so he like ate her and everything like that.
It's like, Jesus Christ, man, it's just like some Ted Bundy shit.
Yeah, so it just gets like as brutal and dark and like just that, it's that classic like 90s style where it's just like things just were like extreme, like in all aspects, know, and sometimes that's that thing. You look at that, you go, gosh, it's like, couldn't you imagine like you could see maybe somebody putting out like a real obscure indie game that would get no press and would be very hidden at the bottom of the barrel, and so on like that. But there's like no way that anybody could release a normal game like this nowadays, know.
No.
It's almost kind of surprising that it's actually on Steam, to tell you the truth, and that they Night Dive put out a it's just a DOSBox version of it, but like, the fact that that's really able to be bought, and like nobody throws anything up in arms at that or anything like that. I think when the game's so old, I think that like the people that kind of complain about this stuff don't even exist. Because let's be honest, people that complain about this stuff generally don't play video games in the first place.
Yeah, exactly. And I was curious. So in my research of trying to figure out how to pay the general store woman or whatever, literally just doing Google searches on it. Google AI tells me that you couldn't buy this game in stores. So did it was this just never released in store? Was it a download only game? Like how did that work?
Well, yeah, that's a good question. I was
granted, Google AI can be a piece of shit and lie to you occasionally too.
Well,
So but
well, I was also, we know for a fact this game was not sold at like Walmart or anything like that.
Yeah.
Because Walmart already had a hard time selling Mortal Kombat, and even like Doom 2, I think, had an issue there. Because that's I think one of the main reasons why Doom 1, because you couldn't buy that in stores initially. Right. You had to buy Doom. You had to get the shareware version of Doom, and then you would order it that way.
Right.
Because people just wouldn't carry it back in the day and so on like that. And if I had to guess that. This one was probably a specialty, or you could probably go to like one of those computer stores back in the day that was a mom and pop one, and they would specialty order it for you.
Yeah.
You just probably couldn't go down to Comp USA or anything like that,
Right,
or
right.
Staples and pick this thing up. You know, because that's always the weird thing about some of those older games is like, especially like the shareware era and so on like that. And I don't know if this one had a shareware thing, you know, where you know, you got like in a sense the demo that you literally had to download offline or get a disc from a buddy who copied it from somewhere, you know. But and the fact that it was passed around in that really like proto internet age, yeah, it's interesting to know where you would have found this game at by that standard.
Yeah, I have no idea. But all Google said is just like it was not available in retail stores, which probably means your Walmarts and Staples of the world, you know. But
yeah, that's what I'm probably guessing is probably like your big box stores. You know, at least the upside of the back in the day is that you had a lot more mom and pop stuff. So that's probably where you had to get it. But it probably was like one of those ones where, yeah, you'd have to go to the specialty PC stores where, you know, you had just like, where's the real shit? You know, I want some violence and everything like that.
Yep. Well, I mean, this game definitely opened my eyes back to my love of point and click adventure. Like, I don't have the time to play them anymore the way that I would, you know, back when I was a kid or whatever. But to have this whole like you said, you know, like having a guide available to me, trying my best to do everything I can on my own, you know, until like I just got to like a friction or resistance point, and it's like, I don't want to be here for 30 minutes, you know, clicking around trying to figure out what to do. Just fucking look it up. But it makes me want to play more in this genre, especially in this type of format, you know, on a podcast. I think like we talked about last night, like Phantasmagoria is probably another one that we should totally check out. You know, there's probably numerous more out there that I just am unaware of, you know, so.
Yeah, no, because that's 100% how I felt too after playing through this. Is because it's like once you kind of get that initial, like, you know, almost like that 40 minutes into it where you just get that, okay, I got the format down and everything like that. Like, I just ran with it. I was just like, oh man, this is really fun. And as I said, it's like one of those ones I've always loved the point and click look, the feel, just the way those graphics are and so on like that, you know, and that's all it takes. You just got to kind of get into it. But once you do, as I said, Phantasmagoria is one that I've always wanted to play as well. And I know they put a lot into that game too. That at one point I think was one of the most expensive games ever made. You know, when they initially did that and so on, and it kind of was like a big pinnacle mark. But yeah, there is a handful of those other horror ones that are in this kind of style, and you can kind of see that once again. This is like, you know, in '96, it does lead into like it has so many like the elements that become kind of like the survival horror stuff, you know, and where that all kind of came from.
Right. Yep.
Just being a proto. It is, they said it came out the same year as Resident Evil 1, but that's the point where like they had no idea what the heck Resident Evil was, you know, while they're putting this game together.
Right.
You know, you had Alone in the Dark and all that kind of stuff, but but no, yeah, Harvest. I think it's one of those ones like that's probably one of the best experiences I think someone could have if you want to just go check out a weird game that's just going to be like, try to find a game more brutal and, you know, funny and
comical,
goofy and weird, and yeah, just, you know, it's while still being dark and scary and all that kind of stuff all at the same time. You know, it's got all that stuff in there, and I think that's what makes it such an interesting, cool game.
No, I 100% agree with all that. I think the other comment that I'll give this is I'm surprised that an old game like this operates just fine off of Steam, because in my experience with Steam, like the Windows Vista and earlier eras of, you know, games that are out on Steam or whatnot, majority of them don't work without mods or some kind of, you know, type of thing. I guess this being DOSBox is probably the reason why it works, you know, so well or whatever. But I don't know. At the same time, like, I guess I'm just impressed that this exists on Steam and that I didn't have to go to GOG to go get it, and the fact that it's only $6, you know, like outright. I think that this is easily worth your time. However, you can totally just go to myabandonware.com and just pick this up, you know, just go download it, you know, for free.
Yeah, because it is a DOS box. Because I always wonder, where does that money go to? Like when like you're buying these games on Steam and GOG for some of these older games, you know,
somewhere, man. I don't know.
So somebody's getting some royalty. Hey, if anything, if it goes to those people, but you just never know, because by this point, some of these game companies are almost been like, they're almost traded like stocks. So it's like old game companies can be owned by somebody who had nothing to do with any of this stuff. they just happen to buy the company outright and they're able to collect the royalties off of it, which actually isn't a bad investment, I guess, if that's what you're going for. But
yeah, I'd say the only thing that I would love to see is just like a slight, and it's really nothing. It's just like, just make this game to where it's more playable on modern resolutions. And I don't mean like upscaling and all that type of stuff. Just like the game only operates in full screen. When you're in full screen and you hit your Windows key, it automatically takes it down to, windowed mode or whatever. There's no in-game options to bring it back to full screen. So it's like, I played the game in a little window like the entire time. I've got this massive, 34-inch ultra wide monitor and like this little little square in the middle of it, which also was another reason why it was so hard to see things in this game. But if this game needed anything, it's just a quality of life feature like that, just especially if they're selling it, in today's era on Steam. It's just like, this should operate better with modern resolution,
Well, so. I thought that was kind of weird because it was running through DOSBox. I would have thought DOSBox would have had that option to go back if you hit the Windows key,
or at least scalable. Like be able to pull the window and mod and scale it and whatnot. But no, it won't let you. It's just like it's locked. It's the same thing with I think Diablo 2 is the same way. The original version of Diablo 2. When you're in windowed mode, because it's that 680 by 840 or whatever that resolution is. And so anyways, but
it's that. Did yours also, like when the FMVs loaded, mine would always do the thing where it'd show like a screen that had maybe like 9 of them in a row, like it was almost like it was gonna freeze, and then it would like show this. Yeah, and I can't tell that if that's like just a coding thing, is just like the memory of that era, like the way that it would get its FMV sequences, how it would go back through RAM, through process memory, all that. Is it just that, or is it just because of this port, like to Steam? Like, I mean, who knows? But regardless, it works fine. The other thing that a game like this really could have used, and again, putting myself in 1996 shoes, somewhat more of a better tutorial, I think, to better explain, oh, you can grab object and put object into thing, just something simple like that. But. And I'll say this, once again, back in the day, there probably was a big fat manual that came that explained all, because that's the one thing you kind of forget about. Because a lot of times you get old games, you go, God, they don't tell you anything. It's like, well, they did, but you had to buy it, and you probably got like a 48-page manual that they would have never gave you nowadays.
That's true.
That's that one that you always kind of forget about, but that probably explained a lot of that stuff in there. It probably gave you little bios on all the characters.
So then what my question is God damn it, Steve, where's the digital fucking PDF of it?
See, that's the one thing. It's like, I don't know why that hasn't become more of a thing where, because sometimes you'll find that once in a blue moon on like certain collections that say like, oh, we got 20 games together, and they'll put the manual in there. But I don't see that very often, that like they should just upload the original manual. It should just come with a cool, like, even like either, I don't even care if it's just a PDF or something that comes along with it that just has the box art, the maybe advertisement arts, the manual, like, and all that kind of stuff. Like, perfect example is like the Metal Gear Solid collection, I want to say, has all that in there, so you can flip through and look at the original manual and all that kind of stuff in there. But like, very few games have that kind of stuff, I notice, and I think that should be more of a thing.
It's on Steam. It's in the community forums, but it's there. I'm looking at the guide right here. Or not the guide, but the manual.
So there's always somebody who does the due diligence and uploads it.
It's always the community, man. Always the community.
Yeah, I think that's the downfall. Is a lot of times I think companies go, the community's gonna do it. Well, don't worry about it. They got it taken care of, But yeah, no, I think Harvest is one of those ones, like, if you just want like an experience like no other, this game delivers it. Mm-hmm. It's almost one of those ones where I feel like there's just so much points in it where you're like, wow, that I didn't expect to see that, and just like, whoa, that went dark fast, and then there's just the laughs and all kinds of stuff, and just the FMV sequence. It's almost like on all that stuff, it does it so good. Oh, yeah. It does it so well. You just got to kind of get past the point that like there's going to be a little bit of clicking issues here and there, and just trying to find some stuff. It's not the end of the world type thing, but
no, it's a little jank, but at the end of the day, it was such a fun experience, dude. Like because I even thanked you at the end. I'm like, thank you for picking this, because like this was an awesome choice. Because you think about it, it's just like, like point and click adventure. It's like, is this actually going to be fun, or am I going to like be another one of those titles that I'm going to force myself through? No, dude, like I had to stop myself from playing further, like you said, like when we got to the lodge for the, at the same time and whatnot, it's just like, okay, I'm going to call it here. But the remainder of that night, I'm still like, I know if I put in another hour, I'll probably be done with this thing,
Yeah, you can literally beat this game in one sitting, I think.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, if you have a little bit of a guide help here and there. I think it's one of those ones like I almost had to kind of stop myself because I would have probably just beat it in one night if that was the case, because it was that interesting to keep going. Like, what's in the next room? What's in the next room?
Yeah.
And so on like that. But yeah, no, this is too cool. I would actually kind of like to see if this company created some other games. That'd be interesting to see where they went to next and so on like that. I know their name changed to like between like the start to finish of putting this together.
Yeah.
Because there was even that trailer I sent to you. If you watch that one, where like it was like a proto trailer for this game, but like all the footage was completely different than what was in the actual game.
Yeah. Yep.
So I thought that was kind of interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Harvester, check that bad boy out on GOG or Steam, or download it anywhere you want. But it's definitely well worth the experience. Yeah, pirate this really old game. At a certain point, like, let's be honest, I don't know if the money is going to the people that made it. That's all I got to say.
If it exists on myabandonware.com, it's fine. Just go fucking download it.
Because those at that point, they're more like archives anymore.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I look at it. It's not like in the olden days when you download emulation, there'd be like those threatening messages from like Bill Clinton and Bill Gates.
Right.
So I always remember that. Like,
you wouldn't download a car.
Yeah. Like, are those guys gonna come to my house? You know what I mean?
Yep.
The two Bills out on patrol.
Yep.
But yeah, beyond all that good stuff, go check out more Silent Evil and Old Man Orange podcast on Spotify and YouTube. Till then, I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.
I am Cameron.
And we'll see you some other time.
Well, you always were a kidder, Steve.
You always were a kidder, Steve.
Well, you always were such a kidder, Steve.
You've always been a kidder, Steve.
Well, you always were a kidder, Steve.
Well, you always were a kidder, Steve.